Welcome back to EPC Sadhana and welcome to episode 5 of series 1. Today let us understand how to build your EPC process framework. In one of my assignment with a company that had close to 280 plus SOPs, those were beautiful documents, well written. But when I asked them, where is your overall process architecture? Where do these SOPs fit? Who interacts with whom? There was silence. And that's when it became clear they had SOPs, but they did not have a process framework. It's like building 280 odd bricks without a building plan. Let us understand what actually a process framework is. An EPC process framework is the master blueprint of how an EPC company actually runs, structurally, functionally, and operationally. From the moment a business opportunity appears, that is, project opportunity or tendering, to the moment the project is handed over, and sometimes, of course, the operation and maintenance, because nowadays most of the EPC is coming with O&M scope as well. Process frameworks tells you what all processes your company has, how they are structured, how they connect, and what belongs to HO, RO, and the site, how the value chain flows end to end. Think of it like the map of your organization, not the roads, not the traffic rules, but the entire city plan. Why process framework matters? Because process framework is the foundation for SOP writing, workflow automation, ERP design, KRA or KPI fixation, internal audits, performance management system, process alignment with IMS, that is your ISO, then business excellence model alignment, role clarity at HO RO on site, reducing firefighting, the last minute chase, and building predictable project delivery. EPC process framework consists of 4 elements, and let us understand it in brief and to the extent it is required. The element 1 is process classification system. What classification system you use? That is for grouping method. One such method we covered in our episode 4 of series 1. That what we discussed was core, support and management process groups. So this is what the component 1 talks about. How do you classify your processes? Then the component 2 is process categorizing using the classification method that you choose. So this is the full map of all your processes arranged using the classification system and categorizing all the processes into core, support and management process. This is like arranging which process falls under which category. Then element 3, process hierarchy and elements. Then the element 4 is process landscape diagram. So these two elements we will be covering in this episode. So together these 4 elements create your EPC process framework. Here don't get confused with the components of a robust process framework that we discussed in episode 3. We'll try to make it simple by end of this episode. As we just agreed, let us deep dive into process hierarchy levels. Level 0 to level 4. At level 0, it is the EPC value chain. It's something like this: winning a project, delivering the project and closing the project. L1 is the major process groups. L2 is the processes. L3 is sub-processes. L4 is activities or SOPs. but most companies starts at L1. So let us understand what is the L0. L0 is the representation of value chain of the business, but not the process document itself. So the value chain could be something like win, plan, engineer, procure, execute, monitor, bill, commission and handover. A simple value chain. So let us understand what is L1 level. So L1 is the classification layer and contains major process groups or categories. It helps us in organizing the processes, but it is not the architecture itself. Process categories is what we have covered in our episode 4 of series 1. So if you have not yet watched, I suggest you watch it to understand in detail about these process categories. So example for an EPC company for an L1 level would be tendering, pre-construction, engineering, quality and safety, construction, billing and QS, finance, HR, management review, audits. These are all not just the functions or department names, but are of major process groups and may cut through multiple functions or departments. At this level, at L1 level, high-level policy statements and governance models are defined. No procedures or SOPs here. So let us understand what is L2. So L2 is actually the process level. So we will be breaking each L1 into various L2 processes. So example, if procurement sits at L1 level as a process group, then vendor registration, RFQ, technical evaluation, PO, expediting, delivery. These are all would be at L2 processes. This is where the process document comes. Because as we just discussed, L1 is for classification and L0 is overview of value chain. So process means L2 document, and a L2 or a process defines purpose, scope, inputs, outputs, high level steps, KPIs, governance and interfaces. Don't worry too much. We'll cover all these aspects in subsequent episodes at the right time and one concept at a time. So let us understand what is an L3 process. So this is where procedures sit, sub-processes of L2. Why? Because a sub-process is usually a detailed sequence of action, which is exactly the definition of a procedure. And some of the examples could be technical evaluation, commercial evaluation, negotiation, PO preparation, expediting. Each of these can have a procedure detailing sequence of actions. So procedure is L3 document. Let us understand L4 level. So activities are tasks. This is where SOPs sit. Why? Because SOPs define rules, criteria, standards, tolerances, formats, documentation requirements. These apply at the activity level, not at sub-process or process level. So some of the examples could be standard operating procedure for vendor evaluation criteria, SOP for GRN documentation, SOP for material quality acceptance, SOP for payment processing checks. So SOP is L4 document. Now that we understood the third element of process framework, that is process hierarchy, L0 to L level 4. Now let us understand the fourth element of process framework, that is process landscape diagram. So it's a one-page map that shows how the entire company works. Think of it like a Google Maps view of your organization's process. It does not go into details. It only shows the big highways, not the small streets. And why it exists? To give anyone, especially new employees, auditors, and leadership, a clear top level picture of how work flows in the company. So, to summarize, what are the practical steps for EPC process framework development? So, the step 1 is identifying the L0, that is value chain. Step 2 is break it into L1 major process groups. Step 3 is break each L1 into L2 processes. Step 4 is draft the procedures under L3. Step 5 is defining standard operating procedures at L4. And step 6 is creates the HO-RO site interaction map showing the responsibility distribution. And the step 7 is validate cross-functional handovers. In EPC, you don't scale with more people, you scale with better processes. And the foundation of all processes is your process framework. Start building it, and your projects and your company will start seeing the transformation. If you start finding these episodes relevant and useful and wants to continue your sadhana of excellence, join me. This is our journey from firefighting to process excellence. Stay tuned to EPC Sadhana with GK. See you soon in next episode.